Let me catch my breath. You go back out there. What I'm trying to say is, at this racetrack, it is so important, Kevin, to slow this racetrack down, breathe, and then everything comes together.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see who comes back after this off week and where everybody is. And that adds another layer to it. Usually you're week after week after week, but after an off week and getting back in this car at this racetrack can be pretty exhilarating for the first 5 to 10 laps. So we'll see where the groove goes on the racetrack. A lot of things with the aero package that we don't know, different tires, a lot of things that we have to unravel here in practice.
One thing we can agree on, though, Mike, we love this racetrack.
Yes. Now, the trucks raced here last night, and although the top groove prevailed on a couple of restarts, the line here, the groove here, was right around the bottom with the left tires in that traction compound.
And then you can see, look right over here on the right of your screen, you can see that traction compound on the bottom of the racetrack, also getting into the corner over here. Grip Central.
Yeah, and they reapply that every morning because they want the groove to be as even as possible on the bottom of the racetrack, because they know when the groove goes to the top of the racetrack that's probably going to be the preferred groove. But they do that to try to keep the lanes more even so that when you're going through traffic, or people can run high, people can run low.
Well, we had O'Reilly Series cars on the racetrack, and if you look up here, that outside groove that Kevin was just talking about is already coming in. So the track's been cleaned up a little bit. It'll be interesting as this cup practice goes along if they'll move up and start moving the track all the way up little by little until it gets to the wall.
Yeah, but look at the top of our pylon. Alex Bowman put up a statement lap that, at least for a couple of laps, was the fastest lap turned on this racetrack as he returns to the number 48. And Hendrick Motorsports after being away for vertigo issues. All right, let's get downstairs if he can hear us. And our crew chief, Larry Mack.
Mike, I can hear you. The last few races we've been here, tire wear has been a big story. But the big reason the tips were so cool, the concrete surface would not take rubber. Goodyear made a big change with the formula, the way the tire is made, to make it not as temperature sensitive for the surface to take rubber. I don't think that's going to be a problem. You need that track temp to be over 80 degrees. Right now, ambient, we're in the mid-70s. Tomorrow it's supposed to be close to 80. The good thing, though, if you can make a long run, you can maybe run 70, 80-plus laps in this 25-minute practice. Regan Smith, that will tell you a lot about your car, short run speed and long run speed.
Well, Larry, one guy that's already made some runs on this track this weekend, Christopher Bell, of course, won the truck race last night, won the cup race last time we were here in September. What are your expectations for this practice section?
I'll be honest, I had no idea what he said. It's really loud. But, yeah, in this practice session, we're just going to go out there and feel out.
Headrest up here, Kevin. Always ran about a quarter-inch more headrest here than any other racetrack.
Yeah, for sure. I was the same way. And you know, the thing that I see from this splitter cam is you can see how dark that traction compound is on the bottom of the racetrack, but you see that rubber up the racetrack. And as this race goes on and that racetrack rubbers up, the way that the track is ground, the bumps in the racetrack, there'll start to be chunks of rubber that build up on the racetrack to be able to go around those things. Then the groove will change, and so very much a rhythm racetrack. And as a driver, you want to be able to just, when you're running the top of the racetrack, be able to rip around the top, but when you have to go back to the bottom, know exactly where you need to lift and know exactly where to put that left front tire. So very much a rhythm racetrack.
We mentioned Alex Bowman. Here he is. He's been out for several weeks, with Justin Allgaier filling in the seat of the number 48.
Well, this is certainly a big test for him, Mike. Obviously, vertigo is no joke. Glad that he's back in this race car where he belongs, and this will be a test for him. Bristol's a short track, and you rip around here fast.
Jamie Little sat down with Alex yesterday, and you will see that interview in tomorrow's pre-race show.
Yeah, and physically, you know, I think that this racetrack in itself, whether you've been racing every week or not racing every week, it makes you tired, and not being in the car for those several weeks will definitely, you know, put some stress on that body that he hasn't been accustomed to over that amount of time.
Bowman won the pole for 2 of the last 3 races here. Here's Noah Gragson, second fastest in Group 1.
Yeah, and you see how tight those times are right there. Quick time 15:40, and all the way back to 10th place, and Alex Bowman is in the 40s right there. So as we would expect here at Bristol, it's a game of hundredths of a second, especially when it comes down to qualifying.
Now, as Regan mentioned, the truck race last night had a record number of full-time Cup drivers in it, 7 of them in that truck race. So a lot of these fellows have already had some experience on this track this weekend.
And I think it's for good reason. Obviously, I like that for the truck series, but I think it points out the challenges of this racetrack and what I was talking about of slowing this racetrack down. Things happen so fast here, the communication, and no more and you're out of the corner, you're back into the next one. Everything's chaotic, and the more laps around here, it slows this place down, so to speak, and you get so much more comfortable with laps.
Riley Herbst has been against the safer barrier a couple laps ago. Watch the 35 there with the green numbers on top.
Ooh, yeah, you saw that car when it unloaded right there. It went to the right, and very easy for that front end to take off up off the exit of these corners, and definitely took off on Riley right there on the exit.
Way before he ever hit the wall, too. Happened fast.
All right, 17 minutes to go in Group 1 practice on a beautiful 80-degree day.
NASCAR.com/fan rewards.
Have you ever done a job for $11 million?
No.
Isn't that what you guys call walk-away money?
He's in and out in seconds. There's no DNA, and he's not working alone.
Something doesn't feel right.
Get down! There's no way out.
That's the thing about walk-away money. You gotta be able to walk away with it.
Welcome back to NASCAR on Prime. Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. Ricky Stenhouse, the best 20 consecutive laps over Gregson, Smith, Nemechek, and Wallace, none of whom were in the truck race last night.
Well, that's what all these guys want to see. They want to know exactly how far their car is going to fall off, and being able to run those consecutive laps, as Larry was talking about at the beginning of the show, just allows you to look at the tire wear. It allows the drivers to be able to understand what they're dealing with as far as how they have to change their driving style with the pace, by knowing how far that falls off, as you see Bubba Wallace go to the inside of the 71 right there.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Kevin. It's fallen off too much because Bubba Wallace blew his doors off. I know he has, he got 3 more laps, or several more laps on his tires.
Kyle Busch was in the truck race last night, got himself a top 10 finish. but he and Austin Dillon 12th and 15th in this group right now.
Yeah, and Kyle had some bad luck last night. He was actually leading the truck race, and under caution, the truck wouldn't fire back up while he was trying to save fuel. So, unfortunate circumstance for Kyle, but definitely running well in the truck last night.
Capable of winning, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah. He had to restart 10th instead of on the front row because of that.
That's right.
Yeah. Took him out of contention.
How his
there are
year's
the
going.
7 drivers that ran last night and where they finished. Larry Mack.
Yeah, Mike, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 47 car is fastest in this practice, but the reason he only ran 13 laps and came in, told Mike Kelly, I'm just too loose. And Kevin and Clint, you know here, when you go out on a green racetrack without a lot of rubber, you want to be a little bit free because you know as the rubber goes down, it's going to tighten up, but you can't be loose. You'll give up too much time on the short run.
Yeah, and I don't think he was the only one. I mean, when we were riding along with Jones, he obviously pitted, and Bowman did as well. Been a minute since Bowman's been in the car. Doesn't surprise me that, maybe not right exactly to his liking, but that's one of those things. The crew chief wants you to run as long as possible, but if the thing's that far out around, we got to come in and make some adjustments.
And sometimes here, you just have to come in and catch your breath.
I have before. Guilty.
It's so important inside the car to relax and be able to not hold the steering wheel too tight, not keep your arms tensed up. This is a place where you have to tell yourself to relax in order to not wear yourself out. So
G-force wise, how does this track punish you compared to, let's say, Martinsville?
I always felt like I got shorter.
Oh, 100. And you know what? You can watch people's in-cars here and watch them go around this racetrack. Brad Keselowski's one that comes to mind. They literally move down in the seat as they pick up those G-loads, and then the straightaway, they'll come right back up.
Well, let's have a look. We have on board in this group with Eric Jones as we watch Connor Zilich log laps. He has the 6th fastest individual lap.
His headrest is about as tight as I've ever seen a driver. I didn't like it to be that tight, Kevin, because it drove me nuts that I couldn't turn my helmet a little bit.
Yeah, and NASCAR's actually changed the rules over the last few years to tighten that up, because a lot of us used to run that gap way too big. So they want that headrest as tight as you can run it so that your head doesn't get to, if you hit something, doesn't get to whipping around. And at this place, if your head starts bouncing back and forth, you almost can't stop it. So you definitely want that headrest opening as tight as you can make it.
The other thing about this racetrack with that banking that you talk about, Mike, is you have to look almost through the A-pillar of the race car. You're looking up a lot of the left top part of the windshield. Larry, what do you got?
Yeah, Clint, Mike was just talking about the G-forces here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and you think about it, running 15, 16 seconds a lap, they're going through it about 8 times every minute. I'm not going to tell you how many G-forces is going through these drivers. What you need to do tomorrow, shortly before the green flag on FS1, I'm going to use our Toyota Camry cutaway car, show you exactly what these drivers are going through and how relative it is to a big event that just happened for our country.
Look forward to that. Riley, son, this track just isn't wide enough, is it?
Yeah, you see this car right here. Oh. Yeah, just it's so easy to do down the front straightaway as you get into that rhythm and you get the car to kind of come out of the hole right there and pop up out of the corner onto the straightaway. And a lot of times you just try to relax for a second. And sometimes you're, like Clint said, you're looking to the left so much that you almost lose track of where the wall is. And
I think that's what happened with him.
Rub up against it.
It didn't really get loose or jump out from underneath of him and overcorrect and get into it. It just accidentally got into it, got too close.
We had a high bank track like this up in New Hampshire, quarter mile, Monadnock Speedway. When they ran the coupe-bodied modifieds, the guys would cut a hole in the roof just above the A-pillar so they could see across the corner because it was banked so much. Otherwise, the way you sat in the car, there was no way you could see what was ahead.
Well, with our cars, we had to. We angled that right. If you see where Zane Smith is on here, his lettering on the windshield, we would angle the sun visor, if you will, over a little bit, make it higher on the left side so we could see through that.
Yeah, and if you notice while Zane's going around right here, that bottom PJ1, as you see that window angled right there on the blackout screen. But there's a lot of rubber going down right above that PJ1. You see how much rubber is laying on the racetrack, and from the booth here, you can see it on TV. It is very pronounced as far as the right side tire laying that rubber down. In certain spots halfway through the corner to the exit, it almost looks as dark as the traction compound on the bottom of the corner. And we don't see a lot of debris. Like, you know, Larry talked about the compound change that Goodyear made with the right side being less sensitive to the heat. So you don't see those big chunks of rubber blowing off the tires like we've seen in the past. So that's not going to be a problem. And when this PJ1 or traction compound wears out just a little bit on the bottom, they're going to go straight to the top, and it's going to lay rubber down.
All right, we're about 2/3 of the way through Group 1 practice. 8 minutes to go.
This is Arby's Crispy Chicken Sandwich, now available in the $7.99 meat and 3.
Alex Bowman's headed back out on track. Here are his comments about his first run.
That actually was freer taking off. Like my landing moment, just with the cycle, got freer. Like I just can't land with any speed into one. Like off the wall or just that absolute landing moment? Like as I get to the PJ.
Yeah, and that's really common here as you see Alex go into turn 1. Right about there's a bump. And if you don't get in there low enough with the left front tire, it'll actually bounce a couple times and make the car go up out of the groove. So as that car goes down into the corner, it just keeps loading up into the banking. And if your left front tire is not in the right spot and it hits that bump in the wrong spot, it gets the car up out of the groove, and sometimes it'll slide. So very important to have the car placement in the right spot, especially while that PJ or traction compound is working so well.
He looks loose into the 3 as well, though. I think he's loose into the corners as it loads up, and it's so important when that thing goes and loads up into the banking in that PJ1, the traction compound, if you will, that you heard him say. If that thing doesn't have pull on the wheel and you can really be affirmative with the wheel and make that thing grip and rip, you're in trouble. That the rear end is really light on its feet, it's trying to come out from underneath that, and you can't make any time, as you heard him say on that radio. Very, very important, because that's just by himself. You get in a racing scenario with a car on your outside and you don't have any pull on the wheel and any stability into the corner, you're dead in the water.
It is the absolute worst condition that you can possibly have at this racetrack is loose in.
Yes.
So, Larry, how are we doing for tire wear?
Well, Mike, I think we're doing pretty good considering that this is the first practice. I'm here with the tires off of Connor Zillich's number 88 car. This is the left front. Now, this is the wear pin holes. They monitor these holes before the tires ever on the racetrack. They see what the depth is, and then once they run, and they ran 46 laps, they come back and they'll measure it again. It'll tell them how much the tire wear is. It'll tell them the balance of the car. Also, they can tell things about air pressure or camber. But I would say on a fairly green racetrack, even with the PJ1 traction compound, 46 laps, this is pretty good. And Connor said the reason we didn't run any longer, I'm happy with my race car.
Okay.
I love that, Larry, and you can see if you look inside there's like 3 different steps on those holes that he was talking about for wear pins. But look how the tire's feathered up here and smooth on the inside, camber issues and things like that. A lot to learn for those crew chiefs all on that tire.
Yeah, and I actually don't like the way that tire is feathered like that. Very common, I guess, when the traction compound is down, but you definitely don't want it to look like that.
Look how it's almost
worse.
2 different tires, smooth down here and feathered up there.
Now, we know the teams can't go test except when Goodyear wants to try new tire construction and compound. So the 3 drivers who did the tire test here last November were Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace, who are both in this group, and Ryan Preece.
You wouldn't think that you could tell a difference in tire temperatures as you put them across there, but I was proven wrong. I remember when I first started on asphalt, you're like, you got to be kidding me. Coming from a dirt background, that thing was hot. It was hot all the way across. Not so over here.
Not so, Clint.
That baby
Not
would
so.
be different temperatures all the way across it.
See the 41 car here of Cole Custer making laps. Way down on a speed chart right here in 17th, and this team, they've struggled. They've definitely struggled to find some speed. They switched to Chevrolet this year, been Ford for the last several years at Stewart Haas, and now it's Haas Factory, but definitely still looking for some speed.
Well, they're one of 5 cars that had trouble getting through inspection here. They'll lose their pit selection and a crew member. The 41 along with Chad Fincham, Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, and Ross Chastain, all failed practice twice, failed inspection twice.
Yeah, and losing that pit stall selection here is definitely not ideal, because it might work out, but if it doesn't, these boxes they're tight, Clint. Getting in out of the pit road here is not easy if you have the wrong positioning of cars around you.
And the fact that you pit on both straightaways, Kevin, I mean, it always messed with me. I liked being on the backstretch. How about you? Where did you like to be?
I think if you're on the front stretch and have the first pit stall, any other pick that is eligible to pick on the backstretch, that's where I'd pick.
It's because obviously under caution you pit on the backstretch and come around. Under green, though, you pit on your side of the racetrack. That's definitely different and something that bites people over times. There it is right there. Come in on in one all the way around. But under green, if you're on the front stretch, you pit over here, backstretch pits over here.
And the lines, of course, are the timing loops.
And the hard part about this pit road, you see a lot of speeding penalties here because the corner, you have to go so much faster because of the way that they measure the speed. So in the corner, you have to go up like 2.5 miles an hour in order to get your pit road speed maximized, which these guys will, if the speed limit is 50, they're going to want to run 49.7, 49.8. It's not 50. But my point is you want to run it right to a couple tenths of a second of where you need to be.
Yeah, go back to that, Kevin, and that's the corner that you talk about right there as you're coming through here on both ends of the racetrack, different speeds as you go around.
Yeah, and basically, you know, when that corner, like I say, when they measure the speed, you can accelerate so much faster. So pit road will tell a big story here this weekend.
And we had green flag pit stops in both races at Bristol last year. All right, flags are out. That'll end Group 1 practice. Ricky Stenhouse, Noah Gregson, Rick Jones, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, top of the board. games are only on Prime. 8 teams take their final shot. Win and you're in the NBA playoffs. Tip-off is Tuesday, April 14th, only on Prime. Win and you're in. I wonder where they got that. Larry.
Yeah, Mike, I'm here with Noah Gregson. You know, if Larry Mack's here talking to you, that's a good thing. Looking good, second quickest and at the top with a lot of consecutive laps. How is that 04 car?
Yeah, the Long John Silver's number 4 Ford Mustang feels pretty good. I haven't gotten an interview in a while, and it's been driving me nuts just because you used to get interviewed every week. But this is a good track for us and myself, and just trying to just, you know, it changes. We don't know what the tires are going to do. We've had some crazy races, you know, about half the time we've been here the last 2 years. So it kind of throws us for a loop, but we're preparing for it to be a normal race on tires. But now everybody at Front Row has been working hard. We were in the Ford Racing Simulator all week, just trying to become better. It's been, you know, a tough year and a half. So we're focused, we're determined, we're not giving up. We want it more than ever, so we're going to keep on going at it.
All right, Mike, I would say whether it's practice, qualifying, or race, this 4 car, that just needs something to happen good.
Yep, I think you made his day, Larry. Now, here are the best from Group 1, and particular attention to the best 30-lap average was Michael McDowell ahead of Bubba Wallace, because those 2 drivers did runs in Group 1 were McDowell and Wallace.
To see come back to the racetrack this weekend. Alex Bowman, of course, getting the approval to get back in your 48 car. How nice is it to be back with your guys at Hendrick Motorsports and on the racetrack as well?
Yeah, it's definitely good to be back. Definitely was not a fun time sitting out, and just appreciative of everybody at Hendrick Motorsports and Ally for helping me through the process and sticking with me through that. So yeah, it feels great to be back.
Looked like it was pretty good, 15-lap average. You're the quickest on the 15 laps, so seems like it's got good speed as well.
Yeah, I felt okay. This place is pretty difficult to come back to and make like that single lap pace, so we didn't look great on the fastest lap, but our averages were okay. I think we have some things we can work on with our car, but yeah, just glad to be back, and if we can get out of here with a solid, you know, top 15 finish on Sunday, we'll be pretty happy with that and can kind of get things rolling back the right direction.
All right, well, we're all glad to see you back as well. Thanks.
Absolutely. That's the best news of the week right there. All right, Group 1 has had their practice. Group 2 loaded and ready.
You said the Whopper is the best burger.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It was right down on the bottom of the racetrack. A lot of that up high was from the O'Reilly practice, but still, look how much more it's dragging that compound on down to the straightaways and really rubbering this racetrack up, Kevin.
Which is a good sign for the top of the racetrack, too, because when they do decide to go up there, and like we talked earlier, and those big chunks of rubber aren't coming off the tires, so it's going to, when they decide to move up, it's going to take rubber quick.
And that's the point. It's not coming off the tires, it's going into the racetrack, and you can see it right there. I mean, it's just mashing the rubber down in the racetrack, not only on the bottom. Obviously, the bottom of the racetrack is where the traction compound is, but there's no massive marbles up here on the top of it. And when this tire, the tire that we had before this, as Larry told us, this is a correction to it, but the one before this would just absolutely cheese grater those tires off if the temperature wasn't right.
Yeah.
It was such a weird thing to have to try to explain and sell to somebody at home, but man, temperature-sensitive tires was real.
I watch you draw on there. Were you a doodler? Are you still?
Well, you see this right here, Kevin? This is traction compound, and what you do is put your left sides in this. What you don't do is enter up here, okay? How about that?
Oh, me.
Ha!
Got a little John Madden in you.
Something tells me business is going to pick up with this old round here.
And it's clouded over. Since we began practice, there was a lot of sunshine then. We're under full cloud cover now.
Which is going to make a difference for these guys. We heard some chatter on the radio, some crew chiefs telling the drivers, hey, it's clouding up. And it is. It's a lot. The track temperature is going to go down. We just talked about temperature-sensitive tires. I think the grip's going to go up in this racetrack. Speeds are going to go up.
All right, Tyler Reddick has been told you need to run at least 30 laps on the bottom of the racetrack, and then let's see where we are.
And that's because they know that he and Kyle Larson are going to, they're itching to go to the top of the racetrack and do something that nobody else is to burn that top lane in. But important weekend for Tyler Reddick. We talked about this at the last race at Martinsville. They know that the short tracks are their struggle. Here we are at Bristol, another short track, and they got to figure out how to win races on these types of tracks. in order to win the championship.
You're riding with Chase Briscoe. Now, he was in the truck race last night. That is our gyro cam. So the camera stays horizontal even as the car goes through the banking, thanks to the gyroscope on board.
That's our best working gyro cam that we've ever had. I will say that. It follows right with the banking like that. So you really get a sense of how the banking changes from the corners to the straightaway and how it starts to roll into the corner right there with the banking, and as you go out of the corner starts to roll back flat. So great camera for perspective of what those tires are feeling on the ground.
Yeah, thank you, BSI. That's fantastic.
Inside, clear behind the 6 to the 17.
Yeah, Chase was trying to give himself an opening right there, and Brad Kozlowski decided that, hey, you're not going, I'm going to pass you.
That makes it's frustrating when that happens.
Man.
He's trying to give himself a gap in between him and Larson so he can get going, and Brad didn't like that. I'll take that gap.
Kyle Larson, remember, he's one of the 5 drivers that loses his pit selection choice and lost a crew member as a result of failing inspection twice.
Yeah, and that all comes down to how that pit stall ends up for Kyle. Obviously a great racetrack for Kyle Larson over the past several years, and you know, I think as we talk about everything that's happening, how much ground has Hendrick made up as we've gone over the week off? Have we made the cars any better? Do we know the balance of our race cars better? Chase Elliott won at Martinsville, but this one is much different than Martinsville from an aero standpoint.
Well, they did a great job as a team figuring out that win in Martinsville, but there was a dominant car there, and it wasn't necessarily a Hendrick car. You can see it right there. It's been a minute.
Now, he's won a championship since he last won a race.
He's feeling the pressure. I know this kid, and I know the pride that he has as a 2-time champion in this sport, and he expects to be dominant. He's been that way his whole life. He's frustrated. They're figuring it out. Kevin, last week you talked to us a lot about, you know, when you're running good, you don't want that break. When you're running bad, you need that break. I think a break served Hendrick Motorsports and all these Chevrolets trying to figure out this new body well.
Well, anytime that you can get a break and be able to take a breath, not have to go to the racetrack the next week, you can work on the simulation and the ideas and all the things that you need to accomplish and not go to the racetrack, it makes it drastically better.
Ryan Preece is fastest in Group 2. Now remember, he was one of the 3 drivers that did the Goodyear tire test here last November. He's a short track specialist, so this should come as no surprise.
Yeah, that rhyme has some reason to it, but overall the speeds are just a little bit off with this group, and obviously this group that going out last is the cream of the crop, right? There's a reason that they're in this group. They're better cars, points wise and situationally, should be in this group. So cloud covered, is that making a difference, Kevin?
Well, I think the biggest thing that makes a difference is there's so much rubber on that racetrack, and when that racetrack is a little bit cleaner, it's a little bit easier to make grip with the race cars. So now that the first group has rubbered up that racetrack, these cars went out immediately on that rubber on the racetrack and didn't get to take advantage of the lack of rubber on the racetrack and making a little more speed, but they're getting a much better read on their cars.
So here's a telling stat. The drivers in Group 1, their fastest lap was within their 5th to 8th lap. These drivers in Group 2, their fastest lap is between their 10th and 15th lap, to Kevin's point.
Yeah, and you know, in the race, it's probably going to be a little bit different because under caution, they're going to ride around. They're going to pick a lot of that rubber up under caution. In this scenario, the cars, they get the checkered flag after practice. They come back to pit road. They park them. Nobody goes around the racetrack to clean all the rubber off. These guys go right back out on the racetrack, and the rubber's already there. So a little bit of a disadvantage for that overall speed. But definitely has changed the dynamic of when you run the fast lap, how your car's handling, all those things, because the rubber's already out there.
So coming up on the 20th lap for William Byron.
Car looks stable though. You hear his throttle. He gets back to it. Doesn't have to blah 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 blah. It tells me it's pretty firm, pretty comfortable.
And you see a little diamond. I always thought the two ends of the racetrack were a little bit different, but he's diamonding both ends, just a little bit in the center of the corner.
Go and watch it or come in and learn something.
Such a rhythm racetrack to be able to make lap time and put the car in the right spot. So sensitive, especially right now while that traction compound is still fresh. That outside groove is rubbered in, and it very important to be able to put the car in the right spot.
Now these drivers all ran 20 laps or more. Denny Hamlin was different. Hamlin went out and ran 5 laps and came in, made changes. He's just come back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and that's usually when they come back in that quick, that means something was drastically wrong. So either the balance of the car was way off, something fell off his helmet, or whatever the issue was, it was bad enough to where he didn't feel like he should keep going. And like we talked earlier, you want to make as many laps as possible.
This car right here, guys, I've been watching out the window, is really loose. Starting to get loose into the corner big time. He's been 45 degrees looking in the infield a couple times, especially right here in 3.
Well, remember, his teammate Alex Bowman told us that he was loose in the corner, actually came into the pits and made an adjustment on his car and talked about how loose he was in the corner. So it seems like Kyle Larson's following that same trend.
Top of the screen.
There it was. That's how I saw him slip up, and he did that for a couple laps, both ends of the racetrack. Seems to be, doesn't phase the kid though. Just settles right back in and keeps logging laps.
His 18th lap was his quickest, and Larson is the fastest driver in Group 2. Did a great job as guest analyst on the truck race last night. now has the fastest time in this session. Larry Mack?
Yeah, Mike, you see Kyle Larson in that 5 car being in Group 2 here. There seemed to be a little confusion about adjustments they can make. Take a listen.
You can't make any adjustments before qualifying?
No, I'm saying right now, in between groups right now. So after that practice that we just watched, we could not make any adjustments until our session opens.
Gotcha. That's a weird rule, right?
Yeah, they updated it recently. It didn't used to be like that.
Well, let me say, recently was about Watkins Glen last August, and what the rule is when before the first group goes out for practice, 20 minutes prior to that, NASCAR notifies all the teams. They have 20 minutes in both groups to make adjustments. Once Group 1 hits the track for practice, nobody else can make adjustments, even the 10 minutes between practices. The only thing drivers and teams in Group 2 can do is buckle the driver into the race car and make air compression adjustments.
Well, and that helps the teams without teammates in that first group. It evens the playing field.
Keeps it fair.
That's right. You know, we look at that first group that had Bubba Wallace in it. If he goes out there like Alex Bowman was and extremely loose, well, his teammate's going to go ahead and tighten up, and it helps them.
So might that help explain why Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs went out, ran a couple of laps, and came in?
I'd say.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
but
you just said, look over on your sheet and find me a Gibbs car. It's all season long they've been lights out fast, and they're over on the right side of the board.
Yeah, and we heard Denny Hamlin talk about, you know, just his car was out of the racetrack. So they've obviously gotten a little off on the balance to start this practice, which, you know, with new tires and new aero, I mean, it's definitely possible to do. But as they've come back out of the pits, they've run better laps. Ty Gibbs for sure put a better lap down. So Regan.
Well, Kevin, Ty Gibbs put a good lap down, but another one of those cars just talking about how very, very loose that number 54 is right now. As a matter of fact, at one point even mentioned the longer he runs, the looser it gets. It just never comes to him. A lot of times here, occasionally you might get it to tighten up a little bit further to run, but not so much.
Denny Hamlin having a tough time. Chase Elliott has been able to run him down here in practice. Here's one reason why.
Yeah, we talked about that car just being out of the racetrack, and a lot of the things that we have heard with the aero package that they're running this weekend is just how edgy the cars are and up on top of the racetrack. And now you've got those clouds over the racetrack, which
I
typically
think is what it's doing.
When you have the clouds over the racetrack like that, the front end turns better and the back of that car gets loose. So definitely a handful for some of these guys.
Scattered clouds. Might be a drop or two in some of those, but no rain expected here this afternoon. Blaney 15th on the board overall, 5th fastest in Group 2. And the 3rd fastest Ford.
Yeah, the biggest news out of Blaney this week is he got a haircut. I mean,
that is news.
You know,
that's
I thought it was big news. I mean, that mustache is always a talking point. Now he's cut his hair, so it's a fashion statement, Mike.
Well, I saw a picture of him without the mustache, but it must have been a meme because, you know, somebody on the internet trying to start something.
We got a following with that mustache. You can't get rid of that now.
Average finish in the first 7 races. Look at how Brad Keselowski has improved, and so has Ty Gibbs over their start 1 year ago. Shane Van Gisbergen better on the oval tracks, and look at the difference.
Guys, well, had the. I mean,
but
consecutive
does like quieter.
I mean. won the truck race. Fun to see those Cup guys. We had six or seven Cup guys in the field last night, and Christopher Bell was the first one to cross the start-finish line. So,
you know, it took him a while to get to the lead, but once he did, he just motored away.
Got a little hectic at the end.
Oh, yeah. That's
Never got anything going, but Carson Hosevard usually does a pretty good job no matter where we're at. So
yes.
We'll see what he's got this weekend.
Now he is second on the best consecutive 15 and 20 laps in this Group 2 practice, which
at Texas A&M University, we believe everything is possible.
Literally everything.
due to the cloud cover. Now look how the track's taking rubber.
Yeah, and I think this thing is just going to keep taking Martinsville when we get to just multiple laps. The bad news about taking all this rubber is what, Clint? This is like a test for you, like you were in school. Qualifying.
Oh yeah.
The guys that go out first in qualifying are in bad shape because of all that rubber on the racetrack.
No question on that. I didn't know. You could have went about 5 different directions with that comment. I was trying to follow your lead there.
Well, let's check with Regan.
Order right now. You mentioned did that tire test as he gets ready to finish up this run.
Something to where when I lift, the right rear on the straightaway doesn't feel like it's yawing me out until I land in the corner. When I land in the corner, the loop yawing me out until I land in the corner. When I land in the corner, the loose feeling goes away. Kind of what I talked about, where the right rear leads me in, and then I get into the banking, and then I don't fight the right rear, but it is extremely uncomfortable on the straightaway.
Yeah, that's bad.
Really bad.
And I think as these guys run, I mean, this car is notorious for wearing that right rear tire out. And if you have excessive wear on that right rear, the first thing that happens is it starts to slide in the right rear tire. Once that starts, you're not stopping it.
Well, it takes all your ability to be aggressive out. Like, you can't turn in underneath anybody. You can't be, you could barely hold on by yourself. You get side by side or in a racing scenario, you're in
But
big
that entry
trouble.
and the way that car is just sliding on the right rear tire, once that starts, you're not stopping it.
Well, it takes all your ability to be aggressive out. Like, you can't turn in underneath anybody. You can't be, you could barely hold on by yourself. You get side by side or in a racing scenario, you're in big trouble.
1 lap ago, this happened to Chase Briscoe.
See, look at those hands get busy. I always talk about the point, but when you see that left rear tire and all of these cars, I see a lot of yaw in the cars going through the corners, and that means that left rear tire, what I'm looking at is about a foot.
Did you hear that thing start to chatter right there, Clay?
Oh, yeah. And then you close your eyes and feel it, too. That's not a good feeling here. And thankfully, it has banking. Without that banking, that car is gone. If this was a flat track and you're that loose into the corner, later, get the other one out.
And it all happens. It all happens so fast here. It's really hard to explain how uncomfortable that is, because on TV it just doesn't look like it's that big of a deal, but it's happening so fast and you're carrying so much speed through the corner. When it starts to slide like that and starts to chatter the rear tire, it's right on the verge of disaster.
Spent some time with Joey Logano for an upcoming piece at his home, as a matter of fact, in his shop, his personal shop, car collection. It's good to be a 3-time champion. That's all I'm going to tell you. Yeah. Wow. Very impressive.
Well, his dad was a car collector, you know, even as Joey was coming up through the racing ranks. So he kind of comes by that naturally.
Now, when we looked at this earlier, we talked about just the different types of rubber, and you can see that rubber down there starting to get caked up on the traction compound, and when it starts to get caked up like that, it starts to become hard to get a hold of. And as this groove moves up the racetrack and they get the top of that racetrack cleaned up, it'll do the same thing at the very top of the racetrack. It'll kind of start to get chunky with the rubber patches.
Well, Kevin, you said they're moving up and trying to clean that outside up, and who is it? Buscher's the first one to go up there and feel it out. Testing the waters here, guys.
Yeah, and right now you see him just real narrow entries, kind of up the racetrack, testing the grip, listening for the debris on the race car, seeing how it turns, and as he gets more comfortable, he'll start opening that entry up, let the car roll up the racetrack into that grinding up at the very top of the racetrack, but you'll see narrow entries just to make sure that car doesn't spin out on the entry to the corner.
I like the colors on that car. You go back to the late 1960s when David Pearson drove the 17 for Holman Moody, winning championships. It was in those colors. I wonder if that's intentional or just a happy coincidence.
I like it.
Well, Kyle Larson's made it up onto third of the best consecutive 30-lap average, actually tied with Michael McDowell for second.
Yeah, and you can see Larson's entry is now that he's pushing that groove up. And once we get 3 or 4 cars up this racetrack, it'll clean up really quick.
They're all up there now.
And the red and black flags are out. Ending Group 2 practice, Austin Cindric fastest on his 25th lap. Ty Gibbs second on his 15th. Kyle Larson third on his 18th lap. Then Ryan Preece and Ryan Blaney. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, coverage will continue on Prime Video with qualifying getting underway soon.
aggressive when you need to. How do you shift gears now and go from running laps in practice for race trim to what you're going to have to do to be fast in qualifying?
Well, luckily I got to do it yesterday, so I got a few mock runs and then a qualifying run already on this place. But the Cup car is a lot different, it feels like, or just even Bristol in general is a lot different. It's a lot darker and rewarding a lot on the bottom, it seems. So, yeah, normally you kind of want to like tailor yourself on entry, but it seems like here you just, there's speeds are so high right now, and we're so fast through the center. But yeah, our number 77 is really good right now. We were really good here last year, so it's makes me feel really good. Even when the track's completely different again, it seems the tires are a bit different, or it is a different tire, and motor's different. That we still have a lot of pace here.
Like you mentioned, being really good last year, 7th place last fall when we were here.
Thanks, Regan. Getting ready for qualifying at the world's fastest half mile.
And lap times here, lower is faster, higher is slower. Big time difference between those moments they have. Same thing covered when we talked about Hamlin. Loose, loose, loose. Look at Blaney. Pretty smooth conditions straight all the way through with that yellow graph. As we carried on, Larson found some speed down here. He stayed with it, kept that loose condition, but found speed over in here as the runs went on. Loose conditions, have those moments. That's a slow condition, but 10 degrees track temperature, Kevin, is a big difference, and I think had to do with what we saw there.
Here is Chad Fincham from Knoxville making his first start of the season. He is the 37th car in the field, the only non-chartered car.
Don't want to be early in this group.
No, it's unbelievable how much rubber that these tires have laid down. I mean, it is dark, dark, dark where those right side tires were in the groove on the bottom. So it'll definitely clean up as we go, and we will see the racetrack pick up probably as much as we have anywhere we've been.
Where's Brian King Roofing, Mike?
I was going to ask you, but I like that. I like that we're back to that era of local sponsors and local and regional companies being involved in the sport, like the title sponsor of the race, Food City, is a small regional grocery store chain. You got that roofing company that we don't know where they're from. Thanks, Clint, for setting me up. And here's Ty Dillon with the best finish of 15th and 13 Bristol starts. Brian King Roofing is in Seymour, Tennessee.
I already knew that.
All right, where's Seymour?
Where's Ohio Logistics, Kevin? You better figure this one out.
Somewhere near Ohio.
You think it's in Kansas?
Somewhere in Ohio.
1571 for Fincham, 1554 for Ty Dillon.
And that's even slower than we saw race conditions. So I think these.
Well, and think about that first group with the racetrack being clean and their race, you know, their times slowing down. The fast time was 15:40 in that first group, and now this racetrack is all rubbered up. So these guys really haven't run on the type of racetrack that they have right now with the sun and everything with the way that it is.
Yeah, it's a double whammy for them.
RFK talking it over.
Love the communication with that team. They seem like they get along so well.
Well, and look over at the points column.
They've done well in the early season. Riley Herbst finished a Bristol best 18th last September.
Yeah, and we saw him have a couple of moments in practice where he got up against the wall. So we'll see if that car is driving any better for Riley right now.
Top of the board, 1538.
Looks like he's going to get him a little bit more. Don't be over aggressive. Think you can get loose in and ruin your lap. Happens a lot in turn 3. You get through 1 and 2, Kevin, feels good, and you get into 3 a little bit harder. Boy, that's a big difference.
Yep, picked up another 2/10.
Yeah, that's a great pickup.
Cody Ware will be next up. He finished 17th here in September of 22, his best career finish at a non-drafting track.
Always such a really unique racetrack, trying to get out of the pits and how far you should drive that car into turn 3 to get up to speed. Heard Cody have to lift there on his up to speed lap through turn 3 and 4, but it is a balance. You want to drive it in, but the most important thing is you're off the corner wide open.
Momentum, though, and to your point, it starts as soon as you put that thing in gear. Up the racetrack. Thing looks tight to me.
First lap will be the lap of record, 1561 for Cody.
I always struggle to qualify here, Kevin. It was a hard, again, you get through 1 and 2 good and you'd overdrive 3. It's just that banking entices you to be able to overdrive the car, and you do just that.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do. And as we watch Cole Custer take the green flag right here, it's one of those places where in your mind you want to drive the car into the corner, but really you need to drive the car in about the same spot, use a little bit less brake, have a little more roll speed, and then roll back to the throttle quicker and harder than what you did in practice. But overdriving the entry isn't really the answer at this track.
And it's so easy to do.
And these cars are so momentum based. You see Cole a little loose there in the middle of 3 and 4, but that momentum starts, like you said, right out of the pits. There's a 1540 with a 4 right there for Cole. But, you know, that momentum out of the pits, you kind of have a little bit of time to see what the grip level is in 3 and 4, and then it all happens really quick. About 30, 40 seconds, you're done, Clint.
So here's Zane Smith for front row. Finished 3rd at Bristol last September, the first of his 3 career top 5s in the Cup Series.
Dream machine.
Yeah, you heard his teammate Noah Gregson talking about the struggles that they've had at the beginning of the year. This car hasn't struggled as much as that 4 car has. Zane's done a really good job of putting himself in you know, a couple spots to get a couple good finishes. So.
Checkers. P2 1527. Riley's at 1514. P1.
A little quicker on lap 2. Picked up most of a 10th.
And it's going to be hard for these guys to, you know, to pick up the amount of speed that they need with the racetrack being different. There's going to be some of them.
Well, that wasn't just for the drivers, the crew chiefs trying to figure out the grip level on this racetrack, how much you can get out of your race car. Last time they were on the track, it was 10 degrees hotter track temperature, sun beating down on it, big time different.
Yeah, this is interesting right here. You see 47 car up the racetrack a little bit, trying to get a run at the green flag. So we'll see how that works out for Ricky.
Boy, he sent it and it stuck. Stenhouse, a 2-time Bristol runner-up.
Oh, big time loose right there. That not only hurt that lap, but it also hurt this lap right here. You just lose so much momentum when you get loose in the middle of the 3 and 4 off of turn 4. Kills that speed down the straightaway.
Well, he got most of it back. Picked up 2.5 tenths on lap 2.
But to Kevin's point, if you watch that lap back, he lost it all. That second lap was a lot better lap. He made the correction, was a little bit more disciplined getting into turn 3, fixed everything about it, but the damage was already done from the first lap.
Bubba Wallace, former outside pole sitter here at Bristol, best finish of 3rd in 13 Bristol starts. Had really good long run speed in practice. Let's see how this 2 laps works out.
That's his teammate, Riley Herbst, in front of him. So we've seen a lot of these cars pick up a fair amount on the second lap, which it's kind of hit or miss as to whether that's the case here at Bristol. But today it seems like that second lap is definitely going to be a little bit better.
6 of 7 drivers so far were faster on lap 2. We'll make that 7 with Wallace. 15:23, picks up 2 tenths. Riley Herbst, top of the chart at 15:14, the 3rd driver to go out on track. So here's Noah Gregson's Ford. Noah has 2. O'Reilly wins at Bristol, and a 12th place in the Cup Series in 4 starts.
Well, we talk about that second lap and all the things that are happening with the weather and the racetrack. You know, those are all the trends that you get to see as you're standing there on pit road compared to these earlier guys. So you're going to see the trend start to pick up of that second lap, but also with the amount of speed that the cars that go later and later pick up when the racetrack gets cleaned up.
He's got a 27. If he can find 2 tenths, he'll be at the top of the chart.
Yeah, when that thing, you get a little bit tight, and then as it pops up out of the banking right there up onto the front straightaway, that thing will just snap around, snap out from underneath you like it did for Noah right there.
This is one that needed that reset. Talking about the Easter break. Let's take a breather here. Let's figure some things out. Trackhouse. I get another group that I spent some time with, and whoa, hold on to it.
Whoa. First time in a Cup car for Connor Zilic at Bristol.
Well, and that's the you know, the car looks too loose, but really that's also the biggest difference. In the Riley car, you're used to being able to overdrive that car a little bit and have it stick. You can't overdrive this car on the entry and do the things that you do in those other vehicles. It's just so much different.
You can hear how much he was out of the gas, how early he was out of the gas. It's really loose into the corner for him.
6th at a 15:36. It's a special day in Columbia, Tennessee. home of Clifton Cuckoo Marlin, a NASCAR star of the 60s and 70s. Now, Clifton and Eula Faye had a son, Sterling, who was a NASCAR star of the 90s and 2000s. And Sterling is the Grand Marshal for Mule Day in his hometown. They expect 200,000 people there. Let's take you back to 2002. We're at Texas Motor Speedway. On a NASCAR on Fox practice show, you'll hear Darrell Waltrip talking about the big day, and Steve Burns will interview Sterling about it.
Tomorrow, folks, is Mule Day.
Oh, my goodness.
Columbia, Tennessee. And they'll have the big Mule Day parade. And Sterling's probably got a couple of them old boys laid up in the barn somewhere.
This weekend?
Yeah.
Steve, how about it?
Hey, Sterling, Darrell just said it's Mule Day in Columbia. Are you actually missing that big festivity?
I had never seen it. Never seen it. I've always been racing, and I never get to see it. They didn't do it for a lot of years. It started back like 74, 75, and always been racing. Always miss it. But
what is the highlight of that event?
I don't know. I guess it's a bunch of drunk asses.
That's an appropriate expression of Mule Day in Columbia, Tennessee.
Yeah, and they have mules too.
Yeah. Miss Mule Day is actually the highlight of the weekend. They have the Miss Mule Day pageant.
That is a cool human being. I had so much fun with him in early days. Look at this Mule Day. It's real.
And Sterling is the Grand Marshal of Mule Day today in Columbia. Thanks to whoever put that up on X, that we were able to take it down and share it with you. We had a lot of fun with practice shows back then. We still do.
Sterling was a character, and that's what this sport was built on, and people like him. And what a cool name. Cuckoo and Sterling, they're both cool names.
But Clifton Marlin was nicknamed Cuckoo as a baby. That was kind of the noise he made when he was happy. Just thought I'd clear that up for you, Clint.
Still a cool name.
I'm surprised Clinton didn't get that name.
Cuckoo?
Cuckoo.
John Nemechek will be the 11th driver to take time.
Stiff.
3 top 15s and 6 Bristol starts. Best finish of 6th here.
See the difference from lap 1 to lap 2 right here. We know that lap 2 is going to be the money lap if you don't mess it up. See that car up out of the traction compound right there, loose up off the corner. So he's got his hands full.
And his first lap will be the lap of record.
Yeah, and that's the hard part from the driver's seat. You know that you need to pick up on that second lap, but you just don't know where the grip level is. And we saw John Hunter right there just go too far and tried to get too much and got that car out of the groove.
Alex Bowman was on pole for 2 of the last 3 Bristol races. Finished top 10 in 3 of the last 4. Tomorrow he'll make his first start since COTA, the road course back in early March.
And
45, about 3/10 off.
And I'd say this is probably the hardest part for Alex to come back and be able to just go out there and crush it is qualifying. And just getting that last tenth and a half out of the car is just such a hard thing to do. But so happy that Alex is back behind the wheel of that 48.
He and Connor Zilich with the exact same time to the 1,000th. Austin Dillon finished 10th in this race last year. He has 4 top 10s at Bristol.
A lot of Winchesters out in the field this time of year.
See that car loose right there, getting into the corner, coming to the green.
Kevin, you was out looking for Turkey Tom, wasn't you?
Yeah, Keelan and I went turkey hunting with the Realtree folks down in Georgia this last, or I guess this week. It's been a blur. Good time of the year.
Sure is. Good time to be in the woods.
Dillon 9th on lap 1.
Yeah,
that car's loose too.
It definitely looks loose and just going to hinder him from picking up much, if any, on this second lap.
Dillon picks up to 6th on lap 2. A.J. Allmendinger rolls out in his number 16. He has 3 top 10s at Bristol. When I first glanced at this car on track, I thought the John Deere car was back.
That's Polecat last fall.
Whoa, hang on to it right there. You see that bottom groove, Clint, where that traction compound is. You can see where that left side tires are, just how much lighter it is. You can start to see it lightening up on the bottom of the racetrack. And I think there's so many things that are going against these cars wanting to make grip, as AJ's 5th quick on his first lap. So looking good right here.
Wow. When he got back to it, he tried to. Car just wouldn't take it.
And Riley Herbst remains fastest.
On the pole till that happened.
Yep.
He went for it. He was committed. Went back to the gas.
Yeah, and it just came off the bottom just a little bit too early to get that left rear tire out of the traction compound, and up the racetrack it went, and no rear grip.
Kevin, I agree with you. It looks to me like it is lightening up a little bit down there where your left side tires are running in the traction compound. But the other thing about that traction compound is it likes temperature. It's very temperature sensitive, and cooling off in these conditions, I think, is where the lack of grip is coming from, for sure.
Todd Gilliland, best finish of 16th in 6 Bristol starts.
And when your car is off just a little bit, as we see Todd up out of the groove right there.
The hardest part about this grip, going back to that, and I heard you talk about it, I want to ask you this. Do you want a tight car or do you want a loose car?
I always want a tight car here. I always want to be able to pull on the wheel a little bit, and I think that
be a little bit more aggressive with it.
You can't make up for loose here. When that car gets loose and it slips out from underneath you and gets up out of the groove, it's over. If it's a little bit tight and you got to just not put the throttle down as hard and wait on it for just a second, at least you're not dead in the water.
I remember Darrell Waltrip saying much the same thing here. Of course, he won a whole bunch of races in a row here.
Oh, man.
As Kyle Busch has difficulty off turn number 2. He has 8 Bristol Cup wins, but it's been a while since he finished top 10 here. Darrell would say, I want the car to be just snug. That would be perfect.
And that's what you want. You want to lead the car with the steering wheel, not have to ride it while the right rear is trying to pass you.
If you're turning right, getting into the corner here, you're in big trouble.
Tenth quick for Kyle right there. He was fortunate that he had his moment off at turn 2 and was able to gather it back up, put himself in a position to just get a decent lap to make up for everything that happened on the first lap.
Eric Jones has led more laps here than any track, 293 of them. He was the runner-up here in 2017.
You can hear how just wants to put that throttle down. The grip's not quite there to be able to do so.
And look at this, Clint, as he goes into turn 1, look at the wear on that bottom traction compound. You can see where the cars go into it, how much lighter it is right there. And now that they're starting to pick that and clean the bottom of that racetrack up, you're really starting to see where that traction compound is worn off the racetrack. Just a real thin strip all the way around the bottom lane where those cars are splitting that traction compound. So that stuff is just wearing out, and they're having trouble getting a hold of this racetrack right now.
Eric Jones picks up 2/10 on his second lap. And here's Daniel Suarez. He has a best Bristol finish of 8th twice. Has 2 top 10s already this season in his new ride.
And there is no way that I thought that as early as Riley went out that we'd be sitting here talking about him still being on the pole. So that tells you how tricky the conditions are right now with the racetrack and the cloud cover and the handling, the balance of the race cars. It is not easy to put it all together.
Pretty solid first lap.
Well, this car of Suarez has been pretty solid, as you see him right there with Riley. Had to breathe it just a little bit up off the corner. Not going to be able to make it happen, but still a good lap for Suarez. Third quick.
Third quick. And big news for the Suarezes this week. They are expecting their first child.
They're both cool human beings. They'll be good parents.
Yes.
That'll be exciting.
Michael McDowell had the best long run speed of anybody in Group 1 practice. He's finished 11th or better in 5 of the last 8 races here.
Yeah, and typically Michael, he's pretty aggressive on these qualifying runs, being able to try to push the limits. So Suarez was right before him. His teammate and his car looked really good. So expectations are high here for this 71.
That puts the pressure on you as a teammate, doesn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, and honestly, I think that they have put some pressure on Michael to go out and perform a little bit better, as well as Hocevar and Suarez have.
15th on the first lap, 6th on lap 2. So we're halfway through qualifying here at Bristol. Larry.
Yeah, Mike, I'm here with Ryan Blaney. Ryan, racing here has been good to you the last year and a half, 3 6th-place finishes. What about these 2 qualifying laps?
Yeah, it's a hold your breath moment, that's for sure. I love qualifying here at Bristol. It's such a change in pace, you know, from the 60 laps you run in practice. And then, okay, now it's, especially with where the grip is, like, it's not a lot of room to miss it. Like, you know, you have 4 feet to hit at full commit, but that's what makes this so fun. It's like a, you know, kind of a give or take type thing. So, but I thought our discount tire Ford Mustang was pretty fast in practice. I thought it had really good pace, and I think there's room to improve kind of the handling of it. So that's encouraging. But yeah, hopefully we can throw a good lap down here and I contend that's a really good lap by the 35-14. That's pretty fast. So hopefully I don't miss the bottom and we can throw a good lap down.
Well, Regan, he spent part of the Easter holiday getting a haircut. I told him I've been selling for decades. Hair is so overrated.
Larry Mack, nobody's going to argue with that based on what we've seen before. Chase Elliott, most recent winner at Martinsville, had a great off week, I'm sure, getting to enjoy that win. But now because of that, you go out last in qualifying today. That gives you an opportunity to watch all the rest of these guys go. So is that good or bad? Does it give you a chance to see what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll find out whether or not it's good or bad. But I think, generally speaking, I think it's a good thing. I think it puts you in a advantageous position to, you know, have better track conditions as it is cooling off here. So if I had my pick, this would be which end I would want to be on today for sure. So hopefully we can do something with it. I thought, man, that first run was not fun in the old Napa 9. So we got it better, I thought, throughout, you know, practice. Took some pretty big swings, got a good direction. So we just got to, you know, keep working at it. So hopefully we can get it close here to put down a good lap. But certainly, yeah, it was a busy one for us there for those 20 minutes. But we'll put our heads down here and try to get a good lap and, yeah, go to work tonight and try to be better for tomorrow. All right, thanks, Chase.
Ross Chastain will be our next qualifier. Third at Atlanta, 3 top 10s in his last 6 Bristol starts. Halfway through qualifying, I don't think anybody had the third driver to go on track, Riley Herbst, to be at the top of the pile halfway through.
I agree with you, and you can visibly see the racetrack color change in shape as we watch this Busch Light Chevrolet go around the racetrack, P6 on the first lap.
Well, Riley will have his best career start at Bristol, even if every driver that goes after him now runs quicker.
Woo!
So good effort.
It's close.
Second by 3/100ths of a second.
Well, that's what this team needs. They need to qualify well and be able to run up front all night. And we know that Ross can get it done behind the wheel right there. Great effort there.
Just outside the playoff conversation and 19th in points with Chastain, so you're right.
Carson Hocevar finished 11th or better in 3 of his Bristol starts. He was 7th here last fall, and he ran the truck race last night.
Yeah, and this racetrack is right up his alley, right? Like, you got to be aggressive. You got to just, you know, go wherever they're not and try to make something happen. And those are all things that Carson Hocevar does. So if he can get this thing qualified up front, might be able to be a contender.
5th on lap 1.
Right there with his teammate. They've been impressive this year, Espero Motorsports.
And you can see that shadow car right there of Riley Herbst as Hostvar goes third quick. You can just see that he gives up just a little bit in the middle, has a bigger diamond than everybody else, but he's able to put that throttle down up off the corner and make that time up.
Here's the first of the RFK Fords, Chris Buescher, a winner here September 4 years ago, and finished top 15 in 5 of the last 6 Bristol races.
Man, Mike, what's that Chrome 17 you remind you of?
How about that? Well, DW, hope he's watching.
You know he is.
Hear him just have to breathe the throttle right there off of turn 2. See if he can get that cleaned up.
Loose.
Up the racetrack right there in 3 and 4.
16th.
Just not down in the racetrack. You can see it just sliding around all the way around.
Yeah, and he struggled in practice. He was right at the back of the board there, making up a lot of time this lap. So big improvement for Chris.
Nice pickup to third, 15-19. There's Darrell with Junior Johnson in the midst of that 7 consecutive win string.
He was the man here. A lot of places.
Yep. Chase Briscoe raced trucks last night and earned all 3 of his Bristol top 10s in the last 3 races. 4th in this race last year.
Flew back in 27th in practice. Needs a big pickup here. I bet he finds it.
Yeah, and we talked about all of those Gibbs cars having a little bit of struggle in the beginning of practice. So it'll be interesting. Doesn't sound like it's where he wants it to be, but able to have that moment off of 2 instead of off of 4. So hopefully he can clean that up this lap.
Well, since the start of practice, track temp is down 15 degrees.
Man, he really put it together there in 1 and 2. Finish the deal here. Can he put the throttle down? Yes, sir.
That'll do it. By 100th.
P1 there, good boy.
1/100th of a second. Briscoe top of the board.
Good adjustment, Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, and that's all on him right there, right? Like, he knew he got too much, and he made the adjustments from the driver's seat, and that's what you do. Every corner you learn what you did the lap before, and you got to remember and make that adjustment, whether it's more brake, less throttle, whatever it is, to make that car right at the edge, but not over it.
Well, last week, Josh Berry had the biggest jump in the point standings of any driver with his 10th place finish at Martinsville. He gained 7 positions.
Yeah, another short track. We expect Josh Berry to be up in the mix, but he's out of the traction compound right there. Don't want to be above that black line in the traction compound, way up out of it this time. Just tried to carry too much speed to the center of the corner, and front end wouldn't hold it down on the bottom of the racetrack.
14th for the Wood Brothers Ford. Ryan Preece, one of only 4 drivers who has finished on the lead lap in every race this season.
Well, that's all. That just screams Ryan Preece. The consistency, grinding every single lap, and that's really what the whole RFK organization has become. But Ryan Preece fits that explanation as much as any of them.
Well, they're definitely getting the most out of each and every weekend. And again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. All of them, all 3 cars firing on all 8 cylinders. Not exactly where they want to be, but not too shabby.
Arguably the most improved organization over last year is RFK.
Yeah, and I think for the other 2, I think, Ryan, I mean, he's knocked off a bunch of top 10s last year, but as a whole, they're definitely closer together this year and being competitive at so many of these racetracks.
So right now his teammate Buescher is 4th, Preece is 10th. Here is Shane Van Gisbergen, who spent a career best 311 laps in the top 10 last week at Martinsville and finished 11th.
And I think arguably this has been Trackhouse's best car on most all the racetracks, but we've heard Shane talk about Bristol before, and we asked him on, I believe it was our speed podcast, about the track that he struggled at the most, and he said this one right here, just trying to figure out where the grip level is and knowing what's too far and how much it'll take with all the banking.
Well, I was watching that fall race back, preparing for this weekend, and this car, he did a lot of learning last fall here. He was at least 2 cautions.
'23rd for Van Gisbergen. Brad Keselowski, 3-time Bristol winner, runner-up here last September.
Yeah, and it's the same thing for Brad this week as we've talked about every other week so far. He's got to qualify good, because by the time we get to the end of these races, he's always where he needs to be. But if he can qualify good, he'll be a contender.
He runs up front all day long and doesn't just dig himself out of the hole that he created by the qualifying effort, to your point. It takes him all day to get there. He qualified good at Martinsville and ran up front. Darlington,
14th on his first lap.
Just up out of the traction compound right there. And
looks a lot like 31. His teammate. Just wasn't quite down in the racetrack.
Austin Cindric, back-to-back top 10s for the first time in a couple of seasons. Was quick in practice. Kind of led the Ford contingent.
Going back to last year, had him a good run here at Bristol. Gets around this place good.
And his Menards paint scheme is a spotter's dream here. You could spot that thing from anywhere. I used to hate following that thing because it was so bright.
The only thing that can take away from that is when there was 2 of them.
Yeah.
Right. 5th with a 15-20.
Look at here.
Right there.
Oh, had to lift. That's all she wrote. We're going to need that first lap, boys. Not bad.
All right, we'll be back in a moment to finish up Cup qualifying at Bristol. He's the 29th driver to take time.
racetrack out that we've seen. What that does for Tyler right here.
Looks like a John Force strategy to me.
Martinsville was his worst finish in his 3-win season. He was 15th.
Really got that thing off in the corner hard, and it was slow to rotate, Kevin. Beating by at least 3/4 of a car length getting into the corner. He'll make an adjustment here.
5th on lap 1. He lacks 7/100ths of the front spot.
Here we go.
On the rev limiter right there. Up the racetrack just a little bit. It's going to be close.
Reddick by 1/100th.
Yeah, man. P1. Good job.
Bumps Chase Briscoe to 2nd.
All right, Clint. So he spun the tires like that. One thing that'll do right there is get those rear tires heated up.
Let's see what the 5 does next. Well,
that was by far the most aggressive takeoff.
Yep.
For sure.
Kyle Larson, 3-time Bristol winner, including this race last year.
Ooh, not comfortable getting in the corner right there. Saw
Still
that car
loose.
bouncing around
Still
on
loose.
entry and exit.
It was loose in the first corner, though. We have another chance.
10th on lap 1.
Make an adjustment. Still can't be quite as affirmative with the throttle as he needs to be. Car's loose getting in the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know as well as I do. I mean, when you're turning right to get in the corner and having to chase it up the racetrack as he pops up to P6.
Can't make the time that you're looking for.
No. And you know, we were talking about the Toyotas again in practice, Clint. Now they sit 1, 2, 3.
Larson is the 2nd fastest Chevy behind Ross Chastain.
Let's see if we can make it 4 right here.
Christopher Bell, a winner here last fall. Only driver to finish in the top 10 in every race in the 7th gen car here. And he won last night in the trucks.
Looks to me like we might need to spin our tires, Clint.
Get some heat in them for sure.
There's only a 1/10 of a second between 1st and 8th. Bell is 11th on lap 1.
Oh, hang on to it.
That'll do it.
Yep, had to abort after that. That was a big moment right there.
You have to commit, though, Kevin.
There's Tyler Reddick with Riley Herbst. Reddick is going to have his best career start here, regardless of what happens in the remaining 6 drivers. Joey Logano, 2-time Bristol winner. Right now, the best Ford is Buescher in 5th.
Joey with a great rebound at Martinsville to come back and put that car in the top 5 after just a horrible Darlington. So got a week off. Back here at another short track. We expect him to be somewhere towards the front of this pack. Up out of the groove right here, though. That's not going to do it.
Waiting on that throttle a long time, Kevin. That usually points to tight race condition.
16th for Logano, 2/10 off pole. William Byron.
Smooth as those hands were in the center, and as long as he was waiting on the throttle.
William has 2 top 5s and 5 top 10 finishes here. This is the only active track where he's never led a lap in Cup.
Wow. I would have never guessed that.
Nope, neither.
The good news is, Mike, we don't have to guess. We've got just those super intelligent stat guys sitting over there that just feed us all the information.
You hear him having trouble putting the throttle down on this 24 machine. He's loose as well, just like his teammate Kyle Larson. See his hands on the wheel compared to Logano's. Much busier.
Well, and
look at that big moment.
Massive moment. Correction back to the right there.
Yeah, really bad.
Loose, 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 guys.
Oh.
Yeah, freeway flat.
And that second lap was slower. Byron's going to start very deep in this field. 4 cars to go. Ryan Blaney, top 6 in the last 3 Bristol races, including 4th last September, which is his best finish here.
A little bit loose. It looked like he might have clipped that apron right there getting into turn 1. He was right on that yellow line.
It's kind of that way coming to the green too.
And you want that left front tire on to cover that yellow line if you can, but might have got too much right there. Looks better.
21st on lap 1.
Wagging its tail, isn't he? He's still right there though, making good time. That's Ryan Blaney all over. I mean, if that's a definition of him.
Did it. 15.101 to Reddick's 15.124.
And that car was a handful.
And the thing that I notice about Ryan Blaney and Chase Briscoe, after their first lap when they were loose, they just went back to that partial throttle to just load the car and be able to just walk it through the corner, let it still turn, but just give it as much throttle as it would take instead of trying to just force the throttle down too much. They just took longer partial throttle.
Ryan Blaney carried that car right there. That's what I'm going to tell you. Did a great job of keeping a really loose car under him and making speed.
This has been one of Ty Gibbs' best tracks. He's been top 10 4 of the last 5 races here. And in 5 of the last races, top 10 in last 5 races this year also.
Oh, just a little bit loose right there up off the corner.
He's still right there on top of him. That was it.
Sorry.
Went for it.
Yeah, and once those cars slide out, you know, you just start to step out like that. Usually the next one
is not going to get better.
It's not going to get better. Yeah, and you saw that car just step out in 3 and 4 right there.
All right, a Ford on the pole right now. We've got 1 Toyota and 1 Chevy left to go. Here is Denny Hamlin, 4-time Bristol winner, who has finished in the top 4 in 4 of the last 5 races here.
Well, we know that Denny Hamlin is obviously one of the best to ever do it, but one of the best to ever do it here. He's been, oh, not right there though. A little bit loose, like we've seen so many cars in this qualifying session.
'29th.
Made that adjustment right there. Clinton has put himself right in the mix as he goes down into turn 3.
Best Toyota right now is Reddick, and it'll stay that way with Hamlin 11th. 1 car to go. Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, the front row right now. Ford and Toyota. Here is Chase Elliott, Martinsville winner, with 4 top 10s in the last 6 Bristol races, including 2 runner-up finishes. Trying to put a Chevy on the front row.
Yeah, and you heard in Chase's interview, he wasn't real happy when his car went out on the racetrack, so it'll be interesting to see if they can get close right here in qualifying after they were so far off to start practice.
Fastest Chevy right now is Ross Chastain, the number 1.
All of his teammates were loose. It's hard to go out the 4th car in line knowing what you have there, especially when you have to be as committed. But this is a big adjustment here. Look at this.
And 30th on lap. Rear pole. His last was at Watkins Glen last August, and it's his first pole of the year.
Hey, loose conditions, Kevin. Who gets the most out of a race car? Ryan Blaney.
Must be the mustache, right? Regan.
Well, Ryan Blaney gets congratulations from his entire team. You told Larry McReynolds before he went out that you knew you were going to have to hold on to it, and it definitely looked like the adjustment from lap 1 to lap 2. You held on to it, and you held on to it better than anybody else.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I just kind of got free lap 1, landing into 1, and then it was just kind of like, all right, gather yourself back up for 3 and 4 to try to get a second lap. And luckily the rear tires came in better the second lap in 1 and 2. And then 3 and 4 I thought was a really good corner. So really great job by the whole 12 boys. Thought our race car in practice was pretty good, and it was nice that we made pretty good adjustments for qualifying with the pace being up. So appreciate Discount Tire, Ford, Menards, everything what they do. Cool start to the weekend. Now we got to do 500 laps. Should be fun.
You mentioned the race car being pretty good in race trim. I know a lot of guys complaining about different handling issues, especially loose. What do you anticipate for tomorrow? How many transitions could this place go through?
Yeah, I think you're going to have your handful. Like I say, I was pretty good. Our pace was good. It was a handful to drive. And I think everyone's going to be like that. So it's just a matter of keeping up with the racetrack and the changes. And I think it's going to move up tomorrow. So you got to kind of deal with that whenever it comes. But overall, good start to the weekend. Good baseline. And hopefully we can keep up with it.
All right, Lear Mac Ryan's happy with his race car and race trim, and he will lead the field to green.
Well, Regum, I'm here with Tyler Reddick. Tyler, a little short on that pole, but you win the award for the burnout, leaving pit road going out there to qualify.
Yeah, I think the product of the qualifying today was just trying a little too hard. Yeah, we got into turn 3 on the money lap pretty good. I just oversent a little bit, big correction, and was concerned that I left some on the table there getting off back to start finish line, and that's definitely where we gave it up to the 12. So all in all, I mean, for me and in this 45 team, we normally qualify out, I feel like at best 15th here. So just with how hard it was getting going in practice today for a comparing Toyota Camry, it was really important to just try and have a good qualifying effort with how bad we got going in practice. So it seems like our Camry's got really good handling on the long run, and now we have some track position to go along with it.
Well, you kind of touched on it there. 2 laps a day, 500 laps tomorrow, and we know this will be an ever-changing racetrack. Short run, long run, all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We pretty much only really get to run the bottom today in practice, get a feel for what our cars are doing down by the yellow line. But yeah, it's going to widen out, rubber in. A lot of rubber went down today, honestly, more than I feel like we've seen in the past. So I think that'll kind of set the tone for the race. I think there'll be a lot of tire rubber going down the racetrack. And yeah, I feel like we'll have me moving around a lot tomorrow.
Well, Mike, a lot's been said about the 45 car needing to improve on short tracks. That's a good start, qualifying on the outside the front row.
Yeah, so far so good. Those top 10 times are separated by exactly 1/10 of a second. That's how close it is.
Yeah, and we talked about Ryan Blaney that first lap, and you can see right here, he's going to get down there and just rub the apron right there.
You could see when he did touch the apron, he got a little bit below that yellow line that the car actually jumped too.
Yeah, and you know, I always wanted to be right on that yellow line, Clint, because I felt like it gripped up, and you saw Ryan was able to just get down there and just barely rub where it's flat. That yellow line's actually painted on the racetrack, so you can cover that, and there's probably...
Look at the squash on that tire as soon as it hit the apron.
And there's 2 or 3 inches below that yellow line that are still on the racetrack. So Ryan Blaney got it done today, put himself up on the front row with Tyler Reddick, who knows that he's got to make his short track program better. And you heard the improvement that he made from qualifying.
Data proves, right? Yeah, Dave Blaney congratulating Ryan on that pole. His Ford will lead 4 Toyotas to green. Nice job by Riley Herbst, who will start from the second row. Now tomorrow, NASCAR Cup racing from Bristol, pre-race 2 p.m. Eastern, followed by the Cup race at 3. It'll all be on FS1. Thanks for watching NASCAR on Prime, where each week we'll bring you practice and qualifying coverage in the first half of the season. Join us next Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern from Kansas for another practice and qualifying. Congratulations to Ryan Blaney, Team Penske and Ford. They will start Bristol tomorrow from the